Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is our special guest I was talking about earlier. I am so excited. How have you been, Trevor?
I'm good. I get to make cool stuff, talk about it, drink too much coffee, and just have a good old time.
Right? And now you're doing a superhero comic? Like, I love it. And, you know, I've always enjoyed your writing, but superheroes are my bread and butter. Like, I'm stoked.
Yeah, you know what? It really it's something that I know I've said that I didn't want to do for a long time, or unless I felt like I had a take that was different than what we've seen. I needed a reason to create something in a genre that is so saturated in the comics industry.
Right.
Not even really from a sales perspective, just from a creative end. I needed to find my way in, and once that spark hit, and I found the perfect collaborator for the project, it was an absolute no-brainer. And so here we are. I'm doing the thing I said I wasn't going to do.
I love it though. And as the perfect collaborator, it is so nice to meet you, Ryan.
Yeah, it's nice meeting you too.
You're artist, right? Artist?
I am, yeah.
Okay. So we've got artist and writer duo here, guys. You guys remember Trevor previously from Area 51 in Minutes to Midnight. We have had conversations before. How is Minutes to Midnight coming?
It's good. We had a couple of backer updates on the campaign. There was an issue with an artist of one of the short stories who I had worked with prior, and I advanced some money to, and he basically just stopped working. So
Oh no.
I basically, I've gone out of my way, and I've found a new artist to actually restart that story. And thank you very much.
He's not wrong.
So I found a great artistic collaborator named Seth Addons, who has done stuff for Marvel and Image and Dynamite, to actually restart that story with me and give it an entire new sort of remodel. So it's a blessing and a curse. Do I love shelling out the extra money? No, but I think Seth and I are going to be able to build something really, really special with that story and give it the treatment it deserves. So we're sort of back on track, which is great, because let me tell you, the whole delay and everything really kind of put a damper on my spirits. But we're here, we're making great stuff, and frankly, there's something really appealing about working on a sort of Shakespearean historical fantasy and a sort of subversion of the hero's journey in the superhero genre. Kind of having my brain in those two different pockets has been a lot of fun, believe it or not.
That is crazy. So are we doing because I gotta ask, are we doing the deconstructing of a hero or subversion? What do you mean?
So the thing about this, right, is that writers who are far better than me have deconstructed superheroes. Alan Moore exists. Jeff Lemire exists. There are guys out there who have taken the superhero genre and pulled it apart in a way that I don't think I can right now. But what I can do is deconstruct sort of the mind of a man. And what this story is taking the superhero genre and using it as a lens to deconstruct the male ego. It's the dominant question of this story is what would happen if the perfect man or the Superman had to feel good to do good, because his powers are sort of contingent upon dopamine in his system. And it's an observation that sort of explores the performative nature of masculinity, and uses the superhero genre in a really interesting way to hopefully dive into that.
I actually really like that idea because most of the time when you do sort of those subversions or deconstruction, you focus on the superhero first, right? There's
Mhm.
always a person behind the mask that kind of gets pushed to the side.
Mhm.
And I like the idea of diving into the superhero. So tell us about him.
Yeah, so there's a little nod in the name of the character toward a T.S. Eliot poem. So the name of the character is John A. Prufrock, and it's a sort of spin on the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. And basically we're picking up with this character on his debut as a superhero. He's sort of pushed into a situation where he has to make his first appearance in a somewhat startling way, but it's kind of just exploring with him in particular, the way that he falls to some of his urges and some of the, I don't know, like the asks of him as a man in 2023, and that is sort of the greater challenge. I mean, the way in which we're subverting the hero's journey is that this character is already happy to take up the step to explore the extraordinary, right? Like he's ready to be a hero. The question is he good at it? And really, where this story will take us is teaching him that he has to ground himself. He has to step back in order to become a better hero, and further to become a better man. And so this story sort of explores more themes of self-control, a little bit of addiction, and sort of the ways in which like the male ego is fragile because it's contingent upon our ability to perform for other people, and what the question is also like, what does that do on the highest scale possible?
Holy crap, this is so relevant right now. It honestly is. And it's like we've had this conversation in the past when I've had you on about the masculinity crisis and da 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 da. And this right now is taking, I don't want to say taking from current day because I don't want people to get turned off by that. But I mean taking from the male experience.
Mhm.
Like writing from that experience instead of writing from the Superman experience, I think is so interesting. And I don't know, you knew I was in anyway, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying I'm already in. Ryan, what's it like working with Trevor?
Oh, it's terrible. You know,
I
he's
figured it was
cracking
probably
the
the
whip.
worst.
No, he's great. And honestly, we've become like really good friends over the past year or so, working together on various things. It all started with the commission and then a short story, and now we're working on this 3-issue arc. So I'm happy to be part of the team.
Did you said a short story? Are you on Minutes to Midnight too?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've been able to look at obviously the Kickstarter. So I was worried this morning because I'm like, the Kickstarter's not live. Are we just talking beforehand? And then immediately I get the email. I'm like, okay, all right, he's got something up there. It makes sense. The art is incredible.
Well,
Like
thank
I'm
you.
gonna show you guys, and we're gonna go through this. But Ryan's art is really, really good. These covers are beautiful. How did you come up with the design?
So I didn't do those covers. Those are
No, I
some
know, but
variants that.
the
Oh,
main
okay.
design.
Yeah. So the main design there, you know, when you're designing a superhero, it's kind of hard because there's 100 years worth of superhero designs already out
Right.
there, and I think the way that you were talking about starting with the man rather than the superhero really helped me not stress out about designing a superhero. You know, I'm not thinking like, oh, what's going to be like the next Batman, what's going to be like the next
Right.
Superman. Instead, I'm designing this costume specifically for the story. And so Trevor gave me an initial sketch, which was actually pretty good. I didn't know that he could draw as good as he can, but he gave me an initial sketch, and I gave him, what do you what do you think, like 10 iterations?
Something like that. Yeah, he went
Yeah,
Oh my
like
crazy.
gosh.
10, but I mean, they're like slight changes to the costume, and there's some symbolism in there, and we just kind of whittled down to which one we thought would fit the character best, and that's what we came up with.
It's gorgeous. I really like your art style, and I like the way this idea. So when I was Trevor is amazing at doing for the creators that he goes on their podcast. He has a little folder, a little drive folder, and he's got all the photos for you and stuff. So when I was making my thumbnail, I wanted to use all of these so much because they're so good, but I couldn't figure out how to get them in. But this is so did you do any of this? Is the main cover, right? And this is
Yeah,
yours,
I did
right?
that one. Mhm.
Okay. This is the one I ended up using for the thumbnail because it's so gorgeous. What's the symbolism with the eagle?
Yeah, so this is actually, since it's a 3-issue arc, we're going to have 3 connecting covers, and each one kind of is symbolic of what's going on in that issue. So for this first issue, we wanted to like start off with something really just like iconically superhero, like, Superman, truth, justice, the American way, like that kind of thing. And so I think like the eagle for me kind of represents that iconic, like, superhero vibes.
Americana.
It's the start of the journey. It's like strength and justice and truth and all that. And that's where we're picking up. We're starting off the story already like in that vibe.
Love it. It is gorgeous. And you did get some gorgeous variants too.
Yeah, we've got a really studded cast of cover art, and I also, let this be said, man, a feather under Ryan's cap is he did an original draft of his cover, and felt really strongly that he could do something better, and he, on his own accord, he went and he redrew that cover over the course of the last few days and just took it to an entirely different level. Like being able to work with an artist who has the drive and the awareness to continue to want to do his best and give his best to a project like this is like, you can't pay for that. I've been doing this now for almost 3 years, and I have never once had an artist with that level of work ethic and that level of pride, and it 150,000% comes through in the work. I mean, we actually, so the original image, the original version of Ryan's cover is out there because that's what we were using for promotion. And last night he handed in a new remodeled polished version, which you're seeing on the campaign now, and it absolutely blew me away. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just like word vomiting now, but it was so good.
It's so great to hear because a lot of times, it truly does matter artist to artist, but sometimes you'll get an artist that is great, but you can tell they didn't get paid much for because it's crap or something. So to have somebody go above and beyond, I really, really like that. And these, like, I've looked at some of the preview pages. I know these aren't Ryan's work here, but some of the preview pages they are on here, correct?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to them, but they are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, he killed it. And like it speaks a lot to the creative relationship too, I think, which is very exciting for me, both as someone who like Ryan had mentioned, we've become really great friends over the course of the last year and some change. But also like it gets me excited to work on the project. It gets me energized to want to do my best and give him my best in the scripts. And I think when you have that sort of symbiosis on a comic where it requires so much collaboration to be in its best form, I think the end product will end up having like a life that goes far beyond ourselves individually, and that is absolutely exhilarating as somebody who puts their blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff.
So was it your idea that kind of made you change your mind when it comes to writing a superhero? How did this all kind of come about? Because I knew, you said you had to have the right idea.
Yeah, it was 100% the idea. I mean, I had a really, really dumbed down version of this idea in a very simple form, sitting in a Google Doc for like the last year. or so, maybe a little bit more. And Ryan and I were at Heroes Con in Charlotte this year tabling, and it was like right before the show, and something really struck me where I was like, I think I've got a little bit more to this idea than I had originally put on the page. And I sort of pitched the basic concept to him when we were, I think we were driving to an after party from a dive bar. And
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
and like over the course of the next week, I really like, I went home and I was like, okay, the idea is pretty good. And Ryan was interested. I was like, let me see if I can crack some story on it. And eventually this idea sort of formed where I decided that, I don't know, it's not that this is a bait and switch, because there are so many loving embraces of the superhero genre, but really, like, this is a drama. This is a story about a man coming to grips with his position as a man of power and a man of stature in the modern day. And so how can I take that and really emphasize the arc for this character? Well,
Mhm.
put him on a pedestal. What's the biggest pedestal a man can possibly be? And you have the tools of fiction, and not only fiction, in comics, right? What is the
Right.
implication there? And you know, the Superman started it all. You know, the Superman is not only sort of this icon of our industry, but it's become a global phenomenon. You can go to another country, you can go to a place with inconsistent water and electricity with a Superman shirt, and a child can look at you and go,
Absolutely.
that's a
Yeah.
good man. And so that to me felt like the right stage to set for this character's journey. And the rest of the pieces sort of fell into place, and certainly kind of having Ryan in mind as the artist informed the journey for the story, because he's a brilliant character actor of an artist, and a great visual storyteller. And so for me, I knew I could really focus in on the emotionality of this story above all else. And trust me, we're doing some wild superhero stuff. I mean, we have a fold out triple page spread in this book.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're so
That's
stoked.
so cool.
But like the thing is that Ryan can do that, and he can be every bit as good as the best superhero artists working right now. But he's brilliant at capturing the characters in their emotive states. And you know, that became such a key factor in figuring out what the story was that we wanted to tell.
Was it when the process came about and you were working on this, is it, first off, is it the coloring done? Ryan, do you do the coloring?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's Fabi Marquez doing the colors.
I always want to make sure that I give everybody their due when it comes to your team. So you have a
Yeah.
colorist on here too. And what about lettering?
Yeah, we have Matias Zanetti from Argentina doing letters, and we've got just like a studded creative team. I mean, Fabi is brilliant and incredibly thoughtful in her work, and the way that colors play a role in the storytelling. And as you can tell, she plays really interestingly with palette, and uses some great combinations to pull the eye around the page.
That
And then
purple and that red, just in this page alone, it draws your eye. And
yeah,
it does a really good job of getting the message through. Because I seen that I believe it was this one you had in black and white also. And when I seen the color version, I'm like, oh my God, it brings it to life.
Yeah. I mean, this Fabi and Ryan are an artistic match made in heaven, and it really shows on these pages. And then in terms of letters, yeah, Matias is just like this incredibly thoughtful lettering designer out of Argentina, and he is he puts a lot of passion into the way that the text becomes a part of the visual identity of the story, and that is absolutely key for a letterer, in my opinion. And we're just so stoked to have such an amazingly talented and thoughtful crew of people.
That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. This is like instantly, I love it because I don't know, because I don't know the story behind it. Like they meet and instantly sleeping together. Like, is that the dopamine? This is what he's looking for.
Yeah, it very much speaks to his power set and the psychology that comes along with that, and how this will eventually play into, I mean, this character's downfall before he rises up and becomes the man and by default the hero that he needs to be.
So tell us a little bit about its power set. Are we talking Superman here? Are we talking, I mean, obviously not Batman, but give us a little idea.
Yeah, so it is more along the lines of a sort of Superman power set, but the intensity of his powers scale with the amount of free dopamine in his system. So that's where you get the notion that this character has to feel good to do good, which, you know, inherently presents some problems, right? That's just
Yeah.
not how life works. And in a scenario where you're under the thumb of a bunch of scrutiny, as a superhero, right, with a platform, and in a world where, again, I think the male ego is so dependent on our ability to perform for other people, right, to be a provider, and to be strong and fierce, but to also be gentle, you know, that I think is such a huge element to his character. And how does that interfere, right, with his ability to be to be strong, and to want to do it for the right reasons? And so yeah, for all intents and purposes, his power set is generally very Superman-y. It's the ways in which the male form and the body can be accented through something like this. And so strength, speed, maybe over the course of time he might develop flight, you know, due to a really high dopamine release. Who knows? So what we'll get to play with that in some really, really interesting ways.
You know, when it comes to the idea, I've never heard of this idea before, right? We've got a lot of superheroes out there, but I've never heard of this. I wonder, you said there was a bit of an addiction issue here. Does that play into the dopamine thing? Because I know there are drugs out there that do release dopamine.
Yeah, absolutely. That is
I figured you out.
I've been caught.
I love it though, because it could be something, you know, even when we feel our worst as humans, we still, I think 99.999% of us try to do good. But if you couldn't do good, that would put you in a very precarious situation.
Yeah, that is definitely an element. And sometimes the question is also like, I don't like, or it's actually less of a question, and it's more of like a prompt, right? Like, we are put in situations every day where the right thing is not always the thing that we want to do, and we don't always get to be our best selves when we're feeling our best, right? Like sometimes
Right.
we by default we have to be at our best when we feel our worst. And when you have a character whose physical ability is dependent upon feeling good, what other challenges does that present for him down the line? And so it gives way to a lot of really interesting character driven story.
What about the side characters? You know, we usually have a cast of characters. Can you tell us anything about them?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never been one to play with a massive cast,
Mm-hmm.
but the two sort of mainline characters are going to be John, our protagonist, and Issa, who is the love interest. And the thing I've come to really like about writing her is that she is in many ways she is his moral compass in a really fierce way. You know, she is not your damsel in distress by any means necessary. She is akin to a sort of modern day take no shit Lois Lane.
Oh, I
And
love it.
for many reasons, like she is a foundational part of this character's strength and his, not only his ability to be a hero, but his willingness to be a hero. And a lot of the sort of central development of John's character arc and of his story is dependent upon his relationship with her. And I think it also just speaks in large part to the way that, like, the way a man acts and the way we act as people, it can often be dependent upon our romantic relationships and the sort of state of those things.
This is a good question. And I think you kind of already answered it. But so the more good he does, the better he feels, the more powerful he gets. In a
Kind
sense.
of.
Okay.
So the hope behind this character's arc, right, is that he he begins to feel good by doing good, but that's not necessarily the thing that fuels him to begin with, right? There's this idea of obligation, which I think is a sort of core part of this idea of exploring masculinity in the male ego, in that he is strong, he is powerful, he is capable, therefore he feels obligated, and maybe is obligated to make sacrifices, to be this hero. But that's not necessarily what drives him when we pick up with John and his story. And so the goal for this character is to hope that he feels good by doing good. But that isn't always the case. It can be driven by other things, and sort of more vain urges at times.
I mean, and at the end of the day, all of us are a little bit selfish, and that could play, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is also, selfishness is a huge sort of contending factor to John's success as a hero.
You still do $5. That is incredible. You still do $5 digitals.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get this story out to the people, as much. I mean, and I've had to raise my prices a little bit over the course of the last 3 years, but I've always been reluctant to do that, and I want to make sure that this book is being put in front of the people that want to read it and want to engage it. That, at the end of the day, is my number one goal. I've never cared much for the sort of profiteering of these things as products.
Right.
What I care about is telling a story and putting it in front of the people who are willing to connect with it and want to connect with it, and can engage with something that I care about. And so, I sort of hold that line at a cost-effective reading experience.
It's crazy, and I love it. I think it's such a good deal, but I know it's hard for creators to do, and you're still trying. Do you have any, before I go into these, I just seen Early Bird, do you have anything that, if they don't check it out within the next 48 hours or anything that's going to expire, we should talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have early bird discounts on all of the covers. We had an early bird bundle that collected all 4 covers, and you basically got a book for free. That actually sold out already.
Wow, it's been live for like 2 hours.
Yeah. So we've got some early bird discounts on the individual covers still remaining, and they are limited by quantity and by time. And we've also got some insane limited items, like original pages of art. Those first 2 pages, the inks, are available on the campaign.
Oh, wow.
And one of them actually already sold out, so there's only 1 page of original art left. There are, I think, 5 slots to get drawn into the book by Ryan.
Oh, that's so cool. I love when people do that.
Yeah, and the privilege of being able to work with an artist who's going to do somebody's likeness justice is fantastic. So you're going to be represented super well on this book, and you'll maybe even get to interact, depending on whoever sort of the first adopters of that tier are going to be the ones that get the coolest spots to get drawn in. So
That
for
is so
example,
cool.
On page 1, there's a character who kind of gets moved out of the way when John sees Issa and wants to interact with her. So, there are certain slots where people can actually interact with our main character.
I love it. Does that make you nervous at all, Ryan? Having to,
Oh, no.
No? Okay. You're like,
No,
I'm
not
so
at all.
confident.
Yeah, I
I
got
know
it.
I'm good. No, I'm just kidding.
There's like like Ryan, the cool thing about his skill set is he does an expressive comic, more traditionally aesthetic comic book style, but he's also spectacular at likenesses. Like, if you comb through his Instagram, which you guys should all be following, it's on the Kickstarter page under his creator profile. He has an Inktober like head sketch of himself, like a bust that sort of merges a realistic illustrative style and his traditional aesthetic, and it's of himself, and it's insane. So
that is so cool. I would be so nervous. Somebody would think I did it wrong, or like, I'm not an artist, but I would just be so nervous with that. But I love when people do that, because it really gives you this thing to go, 10 years down the line. Hey, look, remember when I was in this? This is really cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's so interactive and fun in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a cool part about being able to do this direct to consumer stuff, you know. I mean, I can't say much, but I it seems like I'll probably have my first book out in comic shops in the direct market through a traditional publisher sometime in the next year. And like that's just not
Is it
like
this book?
no, it's something different.
Ah,
It's something entirely original and also in a different genre that I've never gotten to play in before, which is exciting. I'm
ooh.
stoked. But I don't get to do stuff like that in a direct market released book. And so that's part of the special thing about Kickstarters and being able to bootstrap something from the ground up and get it directly to the people who want it. And have that stream of communication be between us, the creative people behind the project, and the readers and the buyers. And so I really, really am cherishing being able to do stuff like this, where we can involve people and give them something to hold on to forever and immortalize them.
And one thing I wanted to make sure to tell people is one really good way to keep updated is by subscribing to Trevor's Substack. He does a really, really good job of kind of like just keeping you updated on what's going with the books, what's changed. It's really, really nice. And I mean, of course, there's updates on the campaign and stuff, but the Substack, for some reason, I'm subscribed to a bunch of people's, and I just delete them. I always look through yours,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I always look through yours and Scott Snyder's and Jen Bartel, and that's about it.
Wow.
Like,
Wow, what company to be in. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I mean, they're amazing, but these books look incredible. Now, I'm confused here. So this is the early bird special, and that's gonna go away, and it's gonna be normally 12, right?
Yep, yeah. I
Okay,
mean, so the access to everything is up. Sometimes people just want to throw they want to throw a little bit more into the campaign, but maybe aren't in a position to get like a higher tier. So we
for
leave
sure.
the regular pricing open for folks that are generous in that way. But yeah, so the early birds are all limited by quantity and by time. So whatever doesn't sell out will be timed out and expired within 48 hours of the campaign launching. But honestly, it looks like we're probably going to sell out of all of the early bird options at some point.
That's so great. And then you've got these unique add-ons. Oh my gosh.
And like this is all because of Ryan. I mean, he's been incredibly generous with his time and energy and being willing to contribute commissions to these campaigns. And the great thing is I can really speak on behalf of his commissions, because that's how we met at Heroes Con 2021.
Wow.
I had just like stumbled upon his booth and really liked his stuff. And lo and behold, most people don't know it, but like when I go and I get commissions from artists at conventions, it's really kind of me sowing the seed to work together. Like I see their art, I want to see what they can do on a commission, and that's sort of my first step. And it's also my sort of gesture of being like, these aren't just words, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people go around at conventions or go online and say, I really want to work with you, and they never
Right.
actually they
Follow
don't put,
through.
right, they don't put any skin in the game either. And so in my mind, it's just like, this is me kind of putting that gesture forward. And he did a really, really great, like 3/4 figure of Damian Wayne Robin and absolutely killed it. So if it speaks to the credibility of this opportunity to get commissions from Ryan, it's that I also own a commission from Ryan that I happily paid full price for.
That is so good. This Harley, I love it. It's so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, these are awesome. He I wish I had a photo. We were both just at Baltimore Comic-Con, and Ryan did this insane Modok commission.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You should Ryan, you should tell her about it.
Yeah, this guy wanted Modok, but he wanted it in the style of Art Nouveau. Do you know what that is?
No, I have no idea.
It's like if you've ever seen anything with like lots of swirls and flowers, and it's like very graphic. The most famous artist is Alphonse Mucha, but the guy basically wanted a Modok, but done in that style.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it's just this weird mix of like the most outrageously ugly character you can think of with just like flowers and birds and swirls and all this pretty stuff around them. I honestly had a blast on it. I worked on it way too much for what I charged them, but I just thought it was such a funny idea. I had to do it justice, you know?
And I had to look up Alphonse Mocha, so now I know what you mean at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, that would be incredibly hard though.
It was such a cool commission. It was so good.
And you had add-ons for Area 51 for people that missed out?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
That is one. Is it the trade or is it individual? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so we have some of the individual issues. The plan is to probably kickstart the trade paperback for Area 51, the Helix Project, sometime next year.
Okay.
Hopefully to get it to people in time for maybe the holiday season of next year, because I want to do some really cool stuff with the physical production, maybe remaster some of the art in between.
Ooh.
And we've already begun to do that with some of the second printings for issues 1 and 2. But I kind of wanted to go through at a couple things that just didn't really, that I didn't love, and give that story the justice that it deserves. And of course, have Sam go and add his touches to the pre-Sam era of Area 51. Yeah, hopefully add some really cool behind the scenes elements to the trade paperback as well. Go through, find old character designs, some old sort of mock-ups and such, and really make the trade a special experience. But available on this campaign are several of the first prints. I think that we're pretty much for issues 1 and 2, we're onto the second prints now. But the great thing about those are that, 1, they get brand new cover art. 2, they both have specialty treatments. So the second printing of issue 1 has an embossed cover, and the second printing for issue 2 has this really beautiful spot gloss, this spot UV. And they both have really cool behind the scenes features in the back as well. So you're not actually, I think you're gaining something by getting in on the second prints for those issues. But we've also got a couple of really cool limited edition covers that we don't have a lot of left available for this campaign. And it could be the last time that those are going to be up for grabs.
That is awesome. Do you have a question? Obligatory question here.
Oh boy.
Might be a little bit for Ryan, but what is your view on AI art? If you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
No, I think it's a really complicated situation. Generally, I think the idea of you're seeing two really major sort of things, and both of those I don't like, wherein people are creating AI art and then taking full credit for it as if they had drawn it. And then there are also those who are kind of championing AI art as if it's the same kind of skill set as somebody sitting down and coming up with the composition and drawing it. I think that in a regulated scenario, AI could be used as a tool, and it already is used as a tool in various softwares for background removal and spot removal and things like that.
Right, yeah.
And I think it could be useful in other ways, but the problem is that you have a lot of people without any restraint and who are generally too lazy to adopt a skill. So, any decent thing can be taken and manipulated and turned into something that ends up having a little bit more of a negative effect. So, yeah, I think if used responsibly, there's an angle where AI could be used as a tool for the creation of art, but as something made to create a finished piece of work, it's kind of gross and takes all the soul, I think, out of creating art.
Yeah, I completely agree. What bugs me the most is when people make, this AI art, and granted, it might be beautiful, but a lot of what it's taken from is other artists previous to you. And you're taking that beauty from them. And that's where I would rather support somebody that sits down and makes this beautiful comic book with their, like this. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to AI art, I am not. Like you said, some tools, I use background removal. I use that kind of stuff. But no, in the long run, a lot of it is, nah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear Ryan's thoughts, though, as an artist.
Yeah, I think like what she was saying, I think the biggest issue right now is that it scrapes from so many current artists. You
Yeah.
can, on a lot of them, you can just put in so and so artist style and it'll just ape them completely. So much of it is trained off of art that people have already done and are getting no credit, no pay, nothing. And so I think initially when it was coming out, I wasn't as apprehensive about it. I was just like, oh, it's just going to be like 3D. It's going to be like Photoshop. It's just going to be another tool in
Right.
the bag. But once I learned, like, oh no, they're just stealing from other people, putting it in a blender and
Mm.
just like churning out stuff. That's when I really have had a negative view on it. If you follow Carla Ortiz online, she's like spoken at congressional panels. She's an amazing artist and is like really deep into this stuff and like protecting artist rights and stuff. So I would give her a follow, see what she has to say about it. But yeah, I think like the concept of having generative like stuff could be good. I mean, like everyone's had artist block before. I've had artist block a
For
ton.
sure.
And it would be nice to have something where like I just need something to get me going, get started, and use that as a base. I could see that as like a tool, or like in concept design when you have to come up with like 100 different ideas to just kind of like get something going. But creating finished work that's just stolen from other artists, I can't like really
Mm.
get on board with that.
Yep. 100%. I totally agree. I want to make sure that not only artists but writers, because the AI with that too, are protected to some degree.
Mm. Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is that legislation and such protections are always so far behind the times. So it's sort of the ability for creatives to protect themselves is very much contingent upon the consumers, right? Like support great independent people whose voices and whose talents you appreciate, and make sure that those are the people who are taking up the market share. I think there was something really unfortunate where I remember seeing something in a Facebook group where like an AI made comic
Oh,
had like trended on Amazon, and it felt gross.
yeah.
It's just like somebody with a ridiculous amount of laziness and a basic ability to play around in Photoshop just kind of bastardized this medium that I love. And
Right.
I know that that's being sort of extrapolated to many more media and art forms. And it's just, I don't know, it's a bummer, and the only thing that I can do is at this point is make the best thing that I can make in a way that is unreplicable. I don't know if that's a word, by computers, and work with talented people like Ryan, like Fabi, like Matthias, who have identity baked into their talent and into their craft, and just kind of prove that like we're going to make something that a computer could never replicate.
Exactly.
This is the combined talent of four people who care about their craft.
I love this. I didn't see this till just now. You have a digital collection bundle.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes Minutes to Midnight and Area 51. Like, you can catch up on everything right here.
Literally my entire career for 20
That's so cool. That's so smart.
Yeah. Just, like I said, we want to make sure people are reading stuff that we care about. And, as much as we need to make a buck off of it to sustain it, that's really all I care about, is making enough so that I can keep doing stuff like this and give people things to read.
That is so great. I didn't see that till just now, and I love it. Oh, and you've got a logo tee. You are going all out. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got retailers. Okay, so somebody was interested in that. I hadn't had a chance to look at these yet, you guys. So you're doing it with me. You've got all the covers together.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Still a little bit of a discount too, even though the early bird version of that tier is gone. There's still a modest discount on the bundle if folks were interested in all of the covers.
And they're all gorgeous.
And if anybody that gets that reference, I will love you forever.
Official hold on, I can do this. Is that Dr. Dre?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know the reference. Dang it.
No, that's the reference. It's Dr. Dre. He's like one of the greatest hip hop producers of all time. So I was like,
Okay.
I was like,
That's so funny.
I was struggling to come up with like a good photo, and so I did it like one of those like press event backdrops, with like the Rise logo, and then just put like Dr. Dre on the image.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I love comics collector pack. Oh my gosh, and you have a catch up tier for this too. Not
Yeah. Oh
just
yeah.
digital.
Yeah. You can get almost every cover of every book I've produced.
That is incredible. Is that a reference to? I don't know that one. Okay, here's your get drawn in, an executive producer. Okay, so you've got a picture of Minutes to Midnight, but it is for this campaign, correct?
Yeah. So that was just an example of a previous backer and supporter getting drawn into Minutes to Midnight.
Okay.
And funnily enough, it's a running joke. So Brian, that same reader and supporter, he to not to bury the lead, he's gonna get drawn into Rise, and this will be he's kind of becoming this multiversal cameo character in the last several
That's so
books.
funny.
Yeah, so Brian, you'll see him in Time Fleeting War Immortal, in Reflections and Other Little Devils, and now in Rise.
Oh my god,
Is
he's
he gonna be like our
like your curator.
Stanley from the movie?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. He's a really awesome guy and an incredibly generous supporter, and he's been with me, I think, since like the third or fourth issue of the Helix Project, and I could not ask for a better reader, a better supporter, I mean, Jesus, he's the
So
running joke is that he's like my number one fan, and I hate using the word fan, but it was his own phraseology there, but he's fucking awesome. Forgive my French.
that is so cool. He's definitely your, like, people are gonna start coming up with theories that he's really controlling all your characters and all that fun stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this, you get one side or the other. Am I correct?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, there are 2 pages remaining, or there were 2 pages to start with. We got the first 2 pages of the book, the original inks, and so yeah, one of those has already been claimed, so there's only one left.
Okay. Do you know which one it is by chance, or?
I do not know yet. I'm
Okay.
gonna reach out to the original backer and see which is his preference.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh, and these are your ones that are all gone. Okay,
Mhm.
so what do you? And these are all your add-ons here. Let's make sure. I want to make sure I got through them all, because
So yeah, these are some of them.
Mhm.
If you go into now, Kickstarter actually added photos to the actual add-on menu. So once you click your regular pledge, it'll give you a list of all of the add-ons with photos of everything.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, whether it's variant covers or of Rise or of previous works, or we've also got some really cool enamel pins. We've got like a platinum and gold pocket watch press enamel pin. I've got a really cool Be Dangerous, Read Comics enamel pin that's like a screaming word balloon that I came up with. You can, for the discerning collector out there, get a CGC Signature Series copy
Oh,
of Rise.
wow.
Yeah, so you can have one of your copies of Rise signature signed by both of us and thrown up in a slab and authenticated and all that. What else do you have? I'm trying to think here. We've also got some really cool, like, limited edition Helix Project copies. Like, for example, I did a convention only, like, blank sketch cover that people can get and bring to conventions and have their favorite artists draw on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I've got a handful of copies of my limited edition Fan Expo Canada exclusive cover to the Helix Project #1 that just came out this past summer. What other cool things do we have in there? We've got commissions from Ryan, aforementioned, and people are really jumping on that and seeming to enjoy it. I think there's only 3 full body commissions left. We launched with 5, but there are other ones like sketch cards and things like that.
Do you have any that are not CGC that are signed?
Yeah, I mean, so you can also on the add-on section, you can have us sign the books for you as well as raw copies too.
Okay, I wondered about that. Usually somebody asks, and that's always something cool.
Mhm.
That people are interested. I don't think they have any plushies. No
No,
plushies.
I did look into figures, like getting like a sort of toy made. The thing is that producing at a lower volume makes them really expensive, and I'd have to kind of charge a stupid amount of money for it.
Ah,
And
yeah.
so maybe for issue 2 or 3, if the project really takes off and the demand is there, we can have some type of figurines made, which would be really, really cool.
That would be neat.
But that again depends on how much people get in on this project here, you know.
So when it comes to this, one thing that I want to make sure I ask is delivery. When do you expect? So you've got 33 days still. When do you
Mm.
expect to have this project done and, the digital copies start going out, you're starting to fulfill?
Yeah, so we're about a third of the way through the physical production of the book. By the time the
Wow.
campaign's over, I think we'll be pretty near done. And the plan is, obviously there's like a holiday slowdown, and we want to make sure that we're timing things up with that. So the current estimated fulfillment is going to be in February of next year. So it's what, 3 short months from now?
Yeah,
4?
that's yeah. Yeah, it's November. Oh my God, it's November already.
Yeah. So right now we're hoping to have again, depending on the printer, the physically printed books by end of January, beginning of February, and I'll start fulfilling immediately. Ironically, that's probably going to be around the time we finally get the physical printed copies of Minutes to Midnight as well. So my life is going to be drowning in cardboard and tape. But yeah, that's kind of the move. And the nice thing is we've got an incredibly reliable creative team, so I don't foresee any crazy issues with delays or anything like that. Pending, you know, uh, pending something happening to me when I go across the pond to England in a week and a half to sign books there.
Oh my gosh. Knock on wood or something. Like
Right.
you're super like my superstition's going, take it back, take it back. Um, are you going to what is it over there that's going on? I forget. Comic what's it called?
A thought bubble.
Thought bubble. I was gonna call it comic boom, and I'm like, no. That's Rocky.
That's a whole person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole person. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be exciting though.
I'm super, super stoked. I was surprised to have gotten a spot at that show. It was like such a fever dream because I had just done a convention at in Boston, and I went home for one day to pack. Speaking of Rocky, to go to Calgary and see Rocky and do the Calgary Expo out there, and I had seen something on Twitter where somebody had got accepted, and I was like, oh, let me check my email, and I rifled through my spam, and there it was, and I was like, okay, it's a denial email, like they're gonna tell me that
Right.
I'm not in, and I remember reading it and getting the acceptance and like lost my mind. So I'm incredibly excited. It's my first time in England.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and knowing that like this little comic book making career has afforded me the opportunity to go and make my first trip to England and experience that is, I mean, contingent upon making comics is insane, and I'm incredibly grateful.
And Thought Bubble is so huge. You're gonna have so much talent around you.
I'm so excited. And what's really cool is I'll get to link up with Fraser Irving, who did the C cover to Minutes to Midnight. It's that really beautiful sort of burnt orange and purple piece, and I'll get to meet him in person and
Oh,
say
that's
hello. And
great.
yeah, so that's kind of one of the most fun parts about doing comics that I found, especially over the last year, right? As I've been able to do more stuff, is like actually getting to hang out and connect in person with these people that I get to collaborate with. I think it makes the experience that much better as a whole.
Oh, definitely. I gotta ask because I keep looking at it and I'm not sure. Is this our love interest or was it the lady in the beginning or neither?
Neither. It's
Oh my God. No, I'm just kidding.
it's no, it's actually part of a really pivotal scene in this first issue, the climax of this first issue, that will play a huge role in John's character development for the entire series. I mean, it's pivotal. And yeah, Raymond Lee, who did that cover, just kind of distilled it down into a perfect image. And if you notice, the sort of fire coming down around him is also sort of abstractly making the wings of an angel, right? And so it speaks to like everything falling down around him and this character's necessity to, for lack of better words, rise up and kind of be the man he needs to be from the ashes.
I love it. Reminded me of like phoenix wings, you know, like rising above. And I really like it. And I was like looking through the pages, I'm like, I want to find the love interest, but nope, she has not been out yet. I love it.
She's in those interior pages. She's in that sample.
Oh,
so the woman he meets at the bar is the love interest.
That's what I said, and you said no.
Did I?
Yeah. I said, is it this woman or the woman in the pages that we've seen so far?
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
You said
I don't.
Neither.
Oh, I don't recall. I'm sorry.
Fired. No, I'm just kidding.
The woman at the bar in those early pages is going to be the love interest for the story. The primary love interest, that is.
Oh boy. Remind me of her name again.
Issa.
Issa. That's cute. Was it hard coming up with different? Like, I know you got the T.S. Eliot for John, but you've got, you know, more than one character in these books that they're going to interact with. Do you just random name generator, or is it like more than that?
I had this idea because I you know, so the characters are all, I don't know, part of it is wanting to be representative of the larger American culture, right? So Issa is a Filipino woman, and I wanted a character who had a sort of really, really strong moral background. And I was doing sort of a lot of research about just sort of subcultures throughout America, and you know, growing up where I grew in New London, Connecticut, like I grew up with a couple of Filipino friends, and I always remember like sort of their parents being like these really kind, gentle people, but were also like incredibly stern and fierce in their beliefs of sort of what it means to be a good person. And that sort of inspired this character who again becomes John's moral compass. You know, she's the sort of motivator and the almost like the teacher, like almost like his mentor figure and love interest in many ways. And it just felt right, you know, having a character who's, I mean, this isn't going to be like explored in depth. It's just one of those things that's sort of headcanon for me in developing the character. But in my head, like Issa's family is sort of a part of the Manang generation of Filipinos immigrating to the United States. So it's just sort of very ethic driven type of person. And I felt like that was a really interesting way to articulate John's character arc, having this person who sort of represents this sort of gentle intimacy, but also like stern morality at the same time for him. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to be able to not only explore their relationship, but explore her as a character. I think as people, I think have noticed over the course of my last couple of projects is I really enjoy writing like fierce, strong women. And
yes, so, absolutely. I've never like what was her name in not one, but in Area 51.
Oh, Marissa.
Marissa. I was gonna call her Marine. I loved her.
Yeah,
like, she was great. She was sassy, and she was like stern and straight to the point. I could not see you, and it's not like you're writing this like strong woman. You know what I mean? You're writing a female that isn't gonna let herself get kicked around, but is incredible in her own right.
Yeah, and in many ways, like, I mean, she is pivotal to John becoming the man he needs to be.
I love that.
She's like I said, in many ways, not only is she the sort of love interest and his source of intimacy, but also like a major teacher for him and a sort of emotional and mental mentor for him. So yeah, she's been really, really fun to explore in the development process of this story.
That is so awesome. All right, guys, we are going to wrap up, but I want to make sure you guys know. I will, because I talked about it earlier. I'll put the link to Trevor's Substack and to Ryan's Instagram. And of course, the link for the Kickstarter is already in the description, but I'll add those in there too. And I'll put it on my community post so you guys can make sure, you know, if you didn't get a chance, someone didn't get a chance to watch the stream, they can at least click on it and check it out. It's worth it.
Thank you.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see your take on a superhero. You've been one of my favorite indie writers for a very long time.
Thank
So
you.
this is so great. And I'm excited for Minutes to Midnight. Such a
Me
cool
too.
concept.
Me too. I mean that thing has had, just with the delays with the art and everything, has had like the longest gestating period in my brain, more than anything else I've gotten to do so far, and so I'm really stoked for that to come out, and I'm incredibly excited for Rise. You know, I'm really proud of the fact that, like, over the course of my 3 primary projects, they've all been wildly different, but also you know, really strong in sort of what they have to say and what we want to do and express. And this story is no different. I think in many ways this is one of the most polished projects, you know, that I will have created, especially from like start to finish. And you know, if anybody is having any doubts, for $5 you can get a digital copy of
Digital,
this
yep.
book. I think you're going to regret not getting a physical copy, because for just a little bit more, you not only get a gorgeous physically printed book, but you get a triple page spread fold out. And we're sort of in the running to have a second triple page spread. I think it's one of our stretch goals. So help us get there.
Oh, there we go. Perfect idea. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Trevor and Ryan. It was really nice meeting you guys, or Ryan. It was really nice meeting you. And everyone, have a wonderful day and check out the campaign. Do it now. Bye, guys.
I can do, I feel it going.